I still remember the way his fingers traced circles on my back, like he was writing secrets he'd never dare say out loud. Every time he touched me, I thought I felt something deeper, like we were finally becoming real. But every morning, he was gone before the sun kissed the windows, and his scent was the only proof he'd ever been there. I used to wait for him, like some tragic character in a movie, candles lit, perfume on, pretending I wasn't hoping for more. The worst part? He was gentle, attentive, whispered things into my skin that felt like promises. He looked at me like I was his universe, but only after midnight. He never wanted to talk about us in daylight, never called unless it was past 10, never showed up unless I was alone. And yet, like a fool, I kept thinking maybe he was just scared. Maybe he was falling in love slowly. Or maybe he already belonged to someone else. The night I followed him, I found out the truth. But it wasn't just betrayal. It was war. And I wasn't ready for what I saw through his window at 3:17 a.m. Before I tell you what happened next, turn off the lights and make sure your heart's ready. I met Ryan on a Thursday night, in the back of a bar where the music was too loud and the lights were too dim to see red flags. He wasn't the kind of guy who made a grand entrance. No, he leaned against the wall like he was sculpted into it, brooding, quiet, observant. When our eyes met, it felt like gravity shifted. He didn't smile. He just stared like he was trying to memorize the shape of my face. I liked that. I liked being noticed. He didn't ask for my number right away. He asked what song was playing. We talked about music, poetry, dreams, things you never expect to come out of a man like that. And then, just as I was starting to wonder if he'd kiss me, he leaned in and whispered, "You smell like regret and roses." I didn't know whether to laugh or run. But I stayed. I always stayed. That first night, he didn't try anything. He walked me to my Uber, opened the door, and said, "Text me when you're safe." That alone was enough to convince me he was different. He waited 2 nights before texting me again. "You up?" It was 11:54 p.m. I replied instantly. And that was the start of our little routine. I told myself it was just casual, that I liked the freedom. We weren't official. We weren't even dating. But every time I looked at my phone and saw his name, it felt like a lottery ticket. I'd get butterflies, fix my makeup, and pretend like this wasn't just some twisted version of intimacy. We talked in shadows, made love in silence, and in the mornings, he was gone before the kettle boiled. Still, I let him in, again and again. I told my friends he was sweet, just private. I made excuses for why he didn't want to go out in public. I even convinced myself he was too broken to love me the way I wanted, and that maybe, if I just stayed patient, I could fix him. One night, after we'd been seeing each other for almost 2 months, I asked him to stay. Just until morning. He froze. Then he kissed me like it hurt. "You don't want to see me in the daylight," he said, half laughing, half serious. "I'm not who you think I am." But he stayed. Just that once. I made pancakes. He didn't eat them. He was beautiful in the morning light. Messy hair, heavy eyelids, the softest smile. But when I reached for my phone to take a picture, he flinched. "No pictures," he muttered. "Ever." I wanted to ask why. But something in his voice made me drop it. Later that day, I saw a red hair tie on the floor by his jeans. "I'm a brunette." He told me it was his sister's. I believed him. Of course I did. Because when you want something badly enough, your mind will twist reality until it fits. I wasn't in love with Ryan. I was in love with the story I was writing about him. A quiet man with a dark past, learning to love again, with me as his savior. But stories don't save you. They drown you. And I was already sinking. The first time I tried to surprise him, he nearly screamed. It was a Tuesday, and I'd bought his favorite coffee, iced black, no sugar, and went to his place unannounced. I know, I shouldn't have. But I wanted to be seen. Wanted to feel like I could just show up and be welcomed, like girlfriends do. When I knocked, the lights were off. No sound. I texted him, outside with coffee. "Open up?" He replied 5 minutes later. "Not home. Can't talk. Sorry." But I could see the shadow of someone moving inside. I left the coffee on his doorstep and walked away. Halfway down the block, I turned back. The coffee was gone. And the door was still closed. That night, he didn't message me. The next night, he did. "Missed you." Like nothing happened. And I let it slide. Again. His kisses always made me forget my own name. He touched me like I was a confession he couldn't say out loud. But he never said the words I needed to hear. No, "I love you." Not even "I like you." Just "you feel like home." Or "you make the night less cruel." I started keeping a journal, trying to decode his riddles. Page after page of half-truths, blurry moments, nights that felt like dreams. I kept convincing myself he was just scared. That maybe someone hurt him so badly, he didn't know how to be loved anymore. One night, I found out he was right. I was scrolling through Instagram when a reel popped up, one of those algorithm things. A girl at a party, laughing in a silver dress. Behind her, barely visible, was Ryan. Holding hands with someone else. At first, I thought maybe it was old. But the date was tagged. It was the same weekend he'd told me he was visiting his mother out of town. And the woman he was holding hands with wasn't a stranger. I recognized her. It was Harper. The redhead. She used to work with me. We weren't close, but we'd talked enough for me to remember how she once told me, "Never fall for quiet men. They hide the worst lies." I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to know more. Needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. It was almost 3 a.m. when he left my apartment. I trailed behind in an Uber, my heart pounding like it knew this would be the end. He walked 3 blocks, turned down an alley, and entered a building I'd never seen him near before. I waited. And then, 30 minutes later, a window on the 3rd floor lit up. Curtains parted. And I saw her. Harper. Wearing nothing but his hoodie. She kissed him like she'd done it 100 times. He looked happy. Peaceful. Like a man at home. He didn't flinch when she touched his face. He didn't look over his shoulder like he did with me. I sat there, frozen. My body numb. my breath shallow. It wasn't just cheating. It was the ease of it. The normalcy. The routine. I was the secret. I was the night. She was the day. And everything inside me cracked. The next morning, I texted him, "Come over?" He replied, "Of course." I smiled. And began to plan. There's a certain power in knowing something they don't know. When Ryan knocked on my door that night, all I could think about was how calm I felt. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I'd already done that in the Uber, silently, with the driver pretending not to notice. Now, I was just ready. He stepped in like he always did, kissed me on the cheek like nothing had shifted, and dropped his phone on the counter. "Missed you," he said. That used to melt me. Now it made my stomach turn. We watched a movie, something forgettable. I didn't watch it, really. I watched him. The way he reached for me without looking. How he laughed half a second late, like he was performing. Every time he touched me, I wondered if he imagined I was her. Did he ever forget whose bed he was in? When he went to the bathroom, I grabbed his phone. I wasn't proud. But I was past the point of pride. No lock. Maybe he trusted me. Or maybe he was just careless. Either way, it was open. There they were. The texts. The photos. The voice notes. He told Harper he loved her. Said she was his anchor, his light. Said he couldn't wait to make her his wife. My heart didn't shatter. It calcified. I screenshotted everything. Sent them to myself. And then, I did something stupid. I sent one to her. Just one. A photo of Ryan asleep in my bed, timestamped. No caption. 2 hours later, Ryan was gone. He left like a ghost. No explanation. No text. Nothing. 3 days passed. Silence. Then Harper messaged me. "Meet me. 6 p.m. Cafe Indigo. Come alone." I wasn't sure if she was going to slap me or thank me. But I went. She was already there, sipping black tea, red nails tapping against the porcelain. She looked tired. Not angry. Not jealous. Just tired. "You loved him?" she asked, before I even sat down. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She nodded. Me too. I think he loved the silence more than either of us. I frowned. "What do you mean?" She leaned in. "He was with me for 3 years. Never told me about you. Just like I assume he never told you about me. But here's the thing, I don't think he's capable of real love. I think he loves the feeling of being wanted. Of being needed. Of disappearing when he's full." I swallowed hard. "Why did you message me?" She smiled, bitter and soft. "Because I'm done pretending I was the only one. And maybe you should be too." That night, I blocked Ryan. Deleted the pictures. Burned the hoodie he left behind. But you can't block a ghost that still lives in your skin. He haunted my dreams. His voice, his touch, the damn way he said my name like it was a poem. Even knowing everything, I still craved the version of him I made up. And that was the worst betrayal of all. Not his. Mine. Because I'd lied to myself over and over, hoping fantasy could turn into reality. That love could be born in the dark. But love doesn't hide. It never hides. And what we had was never love. I didn't hear from Ryan for weeks. Not a single message. Not even one of those empty "are you okay" texts he used to send when his guilt got louder than his silence. I thought I was healing. I got my nails done. I went out with friends. I even slept without checking my phone. But healing isn't linear. And closure doesn't come with a bow. It was a Sunday when I saw him again. At a bookstore of all places. I was flipping through a poetry book, trying to look like I wasn't falling apart, when I felt someone watching me. I turned, and there he was, leaning against the end of the aisle like he had that first night, eyes soft, lips unsure. He smiled. Hey. I didn't trust myself to. I wasn't going to come over, he said, stepping closer. I just missed your eyes. I laughed. Loud. Too loud for a bookstore. My eyes? I asked. Is that what you missed? Not my body? Not the fact that I never asked questions while you lied to both of us? He looked down. I never meant to hurt you. I nodded. You just didn't care enough not to. The silence between us stretched like glass, thin, delicate, ready to shatter. I thought about all the nights I'd waited for him. The way I used to count his kisses like they were currency. I thought about Harper, and every other woman whose name I'd never know. And then I thought about me, the girl who believed love could grow in darkness. I loved who I thought you were, I said quietly. But that person doesn't exist. He reached out, fingers grazing mine. I didn't pull away. But I didn't move closer either. I'm trying to be better, he whispered. Then do it far away from me, I replied. I walked out without looking back. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I finally understood something: you don't need their apology to heal. You don't need to win, or be chosen, or get closure that makes sense. Sometimes, the closure is knowing you were worth more than they could ever give. I still think about him sometimes. The scent of his cologne. The way he kissed my shoulder before he fell asleep. But I don't miss him. I miss the girl I was before him. The one who hadn't yet learned that some people only show up at night because the light exposes everything they're too coward to face. And now, I am the light. He can keep his shadows.